What's up, Patreon, and welcome back to another countdown. Today we are talking the most disappointing movies that I have watched all year. I will be giving you guys my honorable mentions and my top 5. It's interesting that I'm doing this list because these are films that I have not yet had a chance to really hit on. Some of them were in my honorable mentions for worst of the year. Actually, one of them I have hit on, so I'm not going to hit on it too much, but the other 4 I have not really had a chance to talk about yet towards the end of 2018, so I'm excited to talk about this list. Stay tuned because we have more of these coming out this week. I have actually probably more than this week. We're going to do this week into next week talking about 2018. The calendar year is now 2019, so we do have a lot to look forward to in the future. I have some reviews coming your way. Actually, one review for Replicas. I'm going to drop that on Patreon about a week early before it goes on YouTube, and then I'm going to start pumping out some t-shirts to specific tiers, some shout-outs on YouTube coming your all's way. Thank you guys for joining, sticking with me, everything you all do. You are the reason that everything is thriving right now and that life is good. I really appreciate you guys. So today we're talking most disappointing movies. Leave your comments down below. What was your most disappointing movie of 2018? There were a lot, so many that I have honorable mentions. Now, as always, I say this on YouTube. Don't really need to say it with you guys because, you're the squad. You're the peeps, so you understand how it works. But if you guys disagree with me, it's okay. Let me know if you disagree with me. Let me know if some of these movies you guys enjoyed or some of them if they're too low on the list. Here are my honorable mentions. My honorable mentions are Pacific Rim Uprising, The Cloverfield Paradox, Slice, Venom, The Predator, Mute. Now here's the interesting ones. Suspiria, which a lot of people loved. A lot of people are considering a masterpiece. I thought it was pretty good. Didn't love it, though. The disappointing movie is different than bad movie. A disappointing movie is one that you had standards for, you had expectations for, and it fails to meet those expectations. Suspiria was not, in my opinion, on the level that other people said it was, even though I still like the movie. Same for Sorry to Bother You. I actually like this one a little less than Suspiria. This is probably the biggest one of the year for me that's considered disappointing because I'm seeing a lot of people on Twitter. This is in a lot of people's top 10 favorites of the year. Top 10 out of all of the movies that came out this year. Yeah. And I know some of you guys may love it, but that's the beauty of films. All films are subjective, and Sorry to Bother You, it was too off-putting for me. The twist was a little bit too much off base. The movie was just a bit much. It was just a bit much. I'm glad I watched it a little bit later because my review on YouTube would have been very controversial. But at this point, I think sometimes controversy is a good thing. But yeah, Sorry to Bother You is on my honorable mentions for most disappointing movie of the year. Now, number 5. We've already talked about number 5 in my worst videos of the year on YouTube. That's 1517 to Paris. This film I was so much looking forward to because I know what Clint Eastwood is capable of. I know what he can do. We've seen it before with Million Dollar Baby. And even this year, I didn't love The Mule. It's actually one that could be on my most disappointing movies. It was so recent, I haven't really put it on the list. So there's another one. There's an honorable mention. But The Mule was a pretty good movie, right? You can go in, come out, and say, yeah, that was okay. Maybe you didn't love it, but you can still look at the filmmaking and say that was fine. 1517 to Paris. This is just bad. It's just a bad movie. It's one of my least favorite films of the year. The story, the direction, every aspect is just horrible. And it's so sad, too, because this is a film that deserves a great movie because of the source material, the story, and these heroes who play these parts in the film. They're great. They're great people, and they are heroes, and they deserve the recognition. It's just a shame that they got a movie that was this poorly made. And yeah, 1517 to Paris, very disappointing for me because I know what he's capable of. And he just didn't do that. Next up, number 4, The Nun. And, I had a feeling The Nun could be bad. I saw the trailers and I said, this is going to go in one of two directions. This is going to be okay, or this is going to be a travesty. I wanted it to be okay because I love this universe. I love The Conjuring, love everything about it, love the sequel. Even one of the Annabelles is okay. But The Nun is not okay. The Nun was garbage. It was so bad, and it's disappointing in the fact that I thought it was going to be okay. I thought it was going to be like the second Annabelle and just come out, maybe be a bit forgettable, but not taint the franchise. And that's what the first Annabelle did. That's what The Nun does. It taints the franchise. It's just a bad movie. The characters are uninteresting. It's dark. It's glum. It's a very weak story. I mean, this is just a lazy film. And The Nun really had me walking out angry. And I saw it with my friend who rarely sees films, and he was in town. He said, you know what, let's go watch a movie. You're the movie guy. Let's go see one. And The Nun just so happened to be the movie that came out that weekend. And it was, maybe that's why it was so disappointing, because I took my friend who never watches movies in the theater. And after that, I don't blame him. If you're going watching films like that, I truly don't blame you after seeing that in the theater for not seeing a lot of movies. So yeah, Nun is number 4. None ya. I want none ya business. Next up is Wrinkle in Time. Wrinkle in Time, Wrinkle in Time, whatever. I don't care what it's called. This movie is awful. It is bad. It's just really bad. When I first saw it and walked out of the theater, I'm like, yeah, wasn't good. Wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen. But no, after I thought about it, and I even went back. I went back and tried to watch A Wrinkle in Time again. Here's what I'll say about this movie. It tries really hard. It tries to bring the visuals, tries to bring the story. It's got Chris Pine. You have good actors in there. The trifecta of Oprah, Mindy Kaling, and Reese Witherspoon is great. But the story and where it goes and where it ends up, and just this odd pacing that you rarely see in films like this, it just doesn't work. And I trust DuVernay as a director still, even after this movie, but she really has to bring it next time. Because if she doesn't, then she's going to be 1 for 3, with Selma being her only good film. And that's not good. So yeah, that is why Wrinkle in Time is number 3 on my list. Number 2. We stick with the 2, and we're talking Mile 22. Mile 22 is directed by a guy who has brought us some really good realistic films over the last couple of years. If you're talking Patriots Day, Deepwater Horizon, Lone Survivor, all 3, in my opinion, really good movies. Now, Patriots Day has its haters, and if you don't like it, I understand, because there are some parts of that movie, whether it's making up Mark Wahlberg's character, yada, yada, yada. Okay. Mile 22 is such a step below those films. I don't think it's the worst film I've seen this year, but it is bad enough to make my honorable mentions. Out of 178 films at this point, that's not good. And Peter Berg really went back to what he was doing when he directed Battleship. Battleship, in my opinion, is a bad movie. And Peter Berg kind of reverted back to what he was doing there and brought us a very inconsistent and non-cohesive film with unrealistic scenarios and characters that are just awful. The writing, the acting, everything. There were some parts that I thought was okay. And I watched this movie with my wife. She walked out. She said she enjoyed the movie, and I get it. It is kind of a fun action film. But when you look at how some of this was filmed, if we're talking about those action scenes where clearly there's some great stunts, fight choreography, and the stunt doubles are doing a wonderful job, and you can tell. But you can't tell. You can't tell what's going on because of how everything is filmed. The jump cuts, which I use jump cuts in my YouTube reviews. That's YouTube, not a big budgeted movie. Jump cuts, the way that they transition between scenes, these action scenes where you have literally 20 different camera angles going back and forth, and we show his hand moving towards the face, we show the face. It's, come on, man. Just give me a nice wide shot. Give me a couple of wides, cut every now and then, few close-ups when you need it, but just to make a statement, not to overshadow the entire scene. And that's what it did throughout, constantly, until the end of the movie. And by the end of the film, it's just a big, not a trash heap, but it's just a big clump of movie. And honestly, if you asked me the plot right now, I couldn't tell you. I just know Mark Wahlberg's in it. I know the guy from The Raid's in it. That's all I know. So if you want to see a good action movie, go watch Mission Impossible. Go watch anything. The Night Comes for Us. Go watch anything, because this movie is not it. My number 1 most disappointing movie of 2018 is Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. Not saying this movie's horrible, because a lot of people had it in their worst movies of the year list. I didn't have it that low. I didn't think it was one of the top 10, top 20, even top 30 worst movies of the year. But keep in mind, I saw 178 movies. Even if it's 130, that's still not great, okay? And I'm a very positive person. I give a lot of 6s and 7s and 8s, and those are all, pretty fresh to really fresh scores. Jurassic World, when I watched the movie, I gave it a 58%. I saw it once, saw it in a theater. I think I was a little lenient, because after I started to think about it, I don't know if this movie is worthy of a 58%. Instead of rounding it to a 6, I would probably round it to a 5. And I think if I was to ever watch this film again, and at this point, I don't know if I want to, I don't really have any interest, I would probably round it down to a 5, just because it's one of those movies, it's kind of a dump truck film. You start dumping everything that you saw in the movie out of your head, and then, a couple days later, you don't really remember the plot of the film. That's how this was. But when I did start to recall aspects of the movie that, had me struggling a bit during the film, a lot of it either didn't make sense or it involved a dumb character decision that really, really frustrated me. And just because of those reasons and the fact that Fallen Kingdom made so much money and so many people were looking forward to it, and even the fact that as divisive as the first Jurassic World was, it was nowhere near as divisive as this. There are lovers and haters of the first Jurassic World alike. Fallen Kingdom, I would say the majority, I would say 60, 70% of people do not like the movie. I'm not looking at Rotten Tomatoes, not looking at IMDb. I don't trust those sites. Just from the vibe I've been getting online, comment sections, seeing the top 10 worst of the year lists, I think Fallen Kingdom is a very poorly received film. Made a lot of money, and I think it did set up for a solid third film. I wish the second one could have delivered, and it's a shame because J.A. Bayona is a great director. I thought that's what could make this movie good. I've spent too much time talking about Jurassic World, so to recap my most disappointing movies of 2018. Honorable mentions: Pacific Rim Uprising, Cloverfield Paradox, Slice, Venom, The Predator, Suspiria, Sorry to Bother You, and Mute. My top 5. Number 5, 1517 to Paris. Number 4, The Nun. Number 3, A Wrinkle in Time. Number 2, Mile 22. And number 1, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. Those movies are the ones that I wanted to be good. Some of them I didn't think were horrible, like Venom. I don't think Venom's a horrible movie. I thought it was not great, but in those terms, I look at it as disappointing. Same with Sorry to Bother You. Same with Suspiria. I don't have to explain that to you guys. I have a few other ideas that I want to do for you all. Possibly top 5 most overrated films. The only reason I'm hesitant to do that because some of these are going to overlap, and I don't know if I want to put you guys through that. I don't know if you guys want to see the same movies talked about over and over, but, I may switch up that style a little bit. Another one is most surprising movies of the year. What surprised me more than anything? I will definitely be overlapping there, but nowhere near as much as I would with some of these others. So let me know what you guys want in the comments down below. If you want them all, I will do them all. And I also have a really good idea for the future. I'm gonna give it to you guys right now. I have been making changes to my lists from prior years, whether it's 2017, 2015, 2012, more recent years, but prior years. So if you guys want me to go back and kind of rehash maybe my top 10 favorite movies of 2017, because that list has changed immensely since my YouTube video, 2016, 2015, and so on. Let me know. I keep telling you guys, let me know, but if you want to let me know, if you want me to do something like that, seriously, I would love to talk about that. I may do it regardless, but if people want it, then I want to do it. So thank you guys so much for listening to this video. Another list is out of the way. I cannot wait to talk about most surprising. That's probably going to be next. You guys are the absolute best, and I'll catch you later.